It's that time of year. Time for fun, friends, family, and holiday cheer. But of course, it's also time to pull out those Christmas lights and decorate the house. But lo and behold, each and every year, it happens to all of us. You pull out those Christmas lights and one of those strings only halfway lights or doesn't light at all. So frustrating. But friends, let me tell you, I stumbled on this All of a Sudden Christmas light tester. Not only does it test your Christmas light strand, but it also tests Christmas bulbs as well as those tiny fuses. Guys, the best part about it is this entire kit here costs between $10 and $15 US. I'll throw a link in the description down below. Check that out. So with that said, let's sleigh on over to the workbench. Okay, we've made it over to Santa's workbench. First thing I want to show you is just real quick all the features of this Christmas light tester. So you have your on-off switch. You'll push it up to go into your fuse or voltage detection mode. Push the on-off switch down. That activates the bulb tester, which is right here. I'll show you that in a minute. Now that we've got it flipped around, we'll push the bulb remover tool out. That slides out. This slips underneath the light socket. Pull that up to remove the bulb. On the side, you have your sensitivity dial. Now, according to the instructions, you'll want to start out with it in the least sensitivity. If you have it cranked all the way up, you're going to detect voltage from much further, which makes it difficult to pinpoint one section of the strand or bulb. With that said, let's test out and fix our Christmas light strand. And as you can see, we have one half of the strand lit, but not the other. This is where our handy all-in-one Christmas light bulb, strand, and fuse tester comes in handy. Now keep in mind this will work if the entire strand's out as well. For this demonstration, I'm going to use a strand that's half lit and half unlit. The first thing you want to do is find the point where your strand goes from working to not working. We know the problem is on this half of the strand somewhere. Now the way this works is you have power that runs all the way to the other end and back, and that completes the closed loop that allows for electricity to flow through the entire strand. Now most Christmas lights like this are going to run 50 on one side and 50 on the other, or 25 and 25, and that allows one half to work without the other. So we know that there's a problem on this half, so we'll start troubleshooting on this side. Now the first thing you want to do is set your Christmas light tester into the fuse test mode. This allows for the non-contact voltage tester to operate, and that's pretty high sensitivity there. That tells you that because we're not even that close to the Christmas lights. So what we'll do is we'll turn the sensitivity all the way down. That way we have to be right on the strand for it to start beeping. This also could detect if you have a break in your strand somewhere on one of the hot wires leading to the bulb. So the first thing you want to do is right here we have our first bulb that's out. So without checking each one, I like to break the circuit in half. We'll go about halfway into the strand, which is about right here. And we're going to separate so you just have the hot wire coming into the bulb and back out. If this circuit is still working at this point, you should have voltage here through the bulb and out. If it does, then the problem is that way still. If not, then the problem's that way. So let's test it out. And you want to definitely separate these from the other strands, or you're going to be picking up voltage from the pass-through wires, and that will negate the test. So it looks like we have power here, and we also have power there. To further separate, you can also use your hand. It's a pretty good shield there. Looks like we still have power on both sides, so we're going to move further this way and isolate another section. So we've gone that way quite a bit further. So we've isolated our hot wire going in and out of the bulb once again. Looks like we're getting power there and power there. So we'll go down a little further. Now you can go each bulb to bulb, it just takes a little bit longer. So by breaking the bad part of the circuit in half, you can kind of narrow it down a little bit quicker. Still got power on both of those. Okay, we've moved it down a little bit further, and we'll test this one. Again, you want to isolate the hot wire from everything else. With the knob on low sensitivity, we'll check the hot coming in. We got power there. We've got no power there, so I think we've found our problem. Let's just double check. Yep. And see how we have no power coming out? So hot power is coming in, but not out. So either there's a broken wire in here or this bulb is truly bad. So let's check that out. Now to remove the bulb, you can grab the bulb and pull it, but sometimes you'll pull those very delicate wires out of the socket and do even more damage. That's where our bulb remover comes in handy. Slide that out, slide it underneath the bulb holder, and gently pull. It pops it right out. Very easy. We'll go ahead and retract that back in. And now we'll go ahead and flip it to the bulb test mode. Flip the tester over. If you put that bulb in, with it touching those two contacts in there, it should light up. I'll show you what a good bulb looks like when you test it. So that's a good bulb. You can see it light up in my hand. That's a quick way to test out your light bulbs to make sure they are working very quickly. Okay, so I've grabbed a replacement bulb. Let's go ahead and try that out in the circuit and see if it fixes our problem. Yes, folks, and there you have it. Now our entire strand, both sides, is working. So it's that simple. Just make sure you isolate the hot wires going into the bulb when you're testing so you're not reading the voltage off of here. Uh-oh, now the entire strand has gone out. We're looking at both sides out. One of the things that can cause this is a fuse. These fuses are super tiny. They can blow up fairly easily, especially when you're working with multiple strands connected to each other. Luckily, our handy dandy Christmas light tester does come with a fuse tester. And what this does, pop it back into the fuse test mode. We'll flip it over. You can lay your fuse across the two metal contacts, push it on, and you'll see it's lighting up, flashing very fast. That means that fuse is good. Now, if it was a bad fuse and you laid it across like that, pushed it in, and nothing is happening up here, no lights, no beeping, you know that's a bad fuse. It's a really quick way to check that without a multimeter. One thing I will say is if you have a non-contact voltage tester, such as this FLIR model here, it will also work for the strand test, but it doesn't come with any bulb or fuse tester. So if you're in a pinch, you can use one of these. I'll show you real quick. So it is flashing and vibrating, which means we're getting power on that hot wire on both sides. Now to simulate a bad bulb again, we'll go ahead and pop that one out just a little bit. Okay, now we've simulated a bulb that's out again, and you'll see it is vibrating on the input wire, but not the output. One of the dangers of this non-contact voltage tester is that there's no sensitivity setting on this one. So if you get a little bit too close to the power wires right there, you may inadvertently get a false reading. You'd have to be right here and right here, and you can see that we're getting power there, but not there. But if you bring it down a little bit, you're getting power again. These will work, but it's a little bit harder to tell if you have a bad bulb because it could get a false reading with that. And that is where the sensitivity knob is so important in these Christmas light testers, because you want to start with it almost all the way down. That way you're getting a reading, but not false reading. Okay, one more word of caution. When you're using your non-contact voltage string tester on this Christmas light tester like this, it does matter which way you have these plugs plugged in. Some of these are polarized and you can only put them in one way, but like this one's not. You can flip it over. So this one happens to be with the cord up is the way you want to test it, and I'll show you why. So we have our bulb removed to simulate the bad bulb. We'll bring our voltage tester to the input. We're getting power and not on the output, just like normal. But let's say we have it plugged in like so. Okay, our one strand over here is still working. This one's not. It looks exactly the same, but now we've got power running all the way through to the end and back, and the hot wire's coming in on this side, as you can see, and it's not coming out on the input side anymore because our plug is backwards. Now you could still find a bad bulb this way, but if you're checking it end to end, it's going to have to go all the way through, so it's going to take you much longer. One more simple test you can do with the Christmas light tester is just test for a broken loop power. That's going to be the strands of wire that just bypass the lights and go from end to end. So first, just check your power source. If you've got power coming right out of your plug, you know it's leaving your plug. And then just simply go to the other end. If you've got power on both strands on the other end, and you can kind of separate those the best you can at the end. And our light's on here, so obviously ours is working. But if you get to the end and you got power on this end, but not this end, then it's likely you have a broken pass-through wire that runs to the end of the circuit that is broken somewhere. And folks, as you can see, this all-in-one Christmas light tester does the complete job. And for about $10 to $15 US, you can't beat that. Just throw it in the box with your Christmas lights each year, and when you pull those lights out and run into problems, whip this sucker out here. It'll save you time and money. And as always, folks, if you found value in this video, please subscribe to the channel here and watch our next video here.